Okay, so picture this. You find out at 4 p.m. on a Friday that you have to deliver bad news to your team and you have no training on how to do it. Nobody teaches you this, and we never get taught this, not in school, not in most leadership programs, even, and definitely not in business school. You are just expected to figure it all out in the moment, usually with zero notice whatsoever. Hi, everyone. I'm Marianna Swallow. I'm founder of Speak Easy Strategies. We are speakers and facilitators who make communication easy. And today, I'm really happy to be talking with my friend and colleague, Brittany Canaski. And Brittany's going to talk to us about one of the hardest conversations that any leader has to have. Hi, Brittany. Tell us about you.
Hi, I'm Brittany Canaski, leadership coach and trainer at my own company, Hello Velocity, and I love helping to build more confident leaders, again, with topics like this that we're not often taught and have to figure out on the fly. Let me help you make it easier for you so you can do it confidently in the future.
Ooh, great. I can't wait to get into this because this is something I wonder about and my clients wonder about. So, Brittany, you heard the scenario I teed up there. Tell us, what are some steps people can take when they are told they have to deliver bad news, but they have no experience doing it? So let me give you a for instance. One of my clients years ago was traveling to an all hands meeting. He headed up a design team, and on the way there, was told that on the Friday of that week, he was going to have to let 10% of his team go. What
Mm.
can someone like that in that situation do?
Wow. Yeah, that's a really difficult situation and really impactful conversation that they're going to need to have. And even in the intro, talking about when you're asked to do this on the fly or with very little notice, my biggest recommendation is don't wing it. Even if someone's asking you to wing it, you need to push back a bit to say, okay, even if it's 30 minutes before you're jumping into that, or 30 minutes, 30 seconds before you're jumping into that conversation, you need to gather yourself, you need to gather your thoughts. Maybe it's just writing a few bullet points down or having them clear in your head because you need to be really concise when you're giving bad news. You need to be able to get to the point quickly. Other times, or otherwise, when you're nervous giving bad news, we tend to over explain or we talk in circles because we're nervous or we let our emotions kind of take over or we're trying to justify
Hmm.
these things and it ends up being a really long conversation. So even if you only have 30 seconds to prep for it, or if you have one day to prep for it, try to distill it into very key bullet points is my favorite recommendation to help you stay on track and connect with people simply so that they can actually follow what you're trying to say.
I think that's such a huge important point to give yourself space or ask for that space, even if it's 30 seconds. Lots of times, I think we undervalue even just taking 30 seconds, 60 seconds to think about
Mm-hmm.
something. But in that tiny bit of time, even if that's all you have, it is so valuable, like you
Mm-hmm.
said, because if we're nervous or we didn't gather our thoughts, we might babble. Or I've seen I've seen people do such a bad job of this that the person leaves not understanding that they did something wrong at work or that they're laid off because the person
Mm-hmm.
just kind of couched it in either fluff or kind of drew, put a lot of friendly language out there, which we're going to talk about in a minute. So let's keep building on this. Do you have any suggestions for structure of the conversation? Is there any way, well, give us your thoughts on structure. What do you think about using a structure for this kind of conversation?
Yeah, I think it can be such a game changer. Again, what you had just mentioned is that without structure, people do often add a lot of the fluff or they try to be really nice or deliver it in a way that they won't be mad at me, right? But then the impact can be they don't know that they're fired or that they're laid off or that something big is really happening. They might walk away really confused and not really clear what's happening. So having kind of a clear structure, I think, is really helpful. And it, again, keeps you on track to deliver that clear point across. So I always like to start with one sentence of your intention. Maybe it's, think of it as just one sentence, helps you connect with the other person and sets the
Mm,
expectation for the conversation instead of jumping right into it to say, okay, there's a big change happening and here's what it is. It's saying, hey, we're here today to talk about some upcoming changes to the department, and I want to be able to address any conversations and any questions that come up in the moment now or in the future. Something like that, again, helps them connect with you, helps you set the stage. but it's not so alarming maybe, where other times if you're kind of jumping right into the bad news, people are immediately going to put their defenses up and shut down. And then we want to get to the meat of it, of what I mentioned earlier, of those 3 bullet points. You want to have these very succinct, direct points and not use too much filler language, because then that's when it gets misconstrued and people aren't really sure what you're trying to say. So maybe 3 key bullet points of this is what's happening. And I always like to think of it as sticking to the facts. What would a neutral third party say is happening? There's not, again, all the filler language. There's not the confusing, what does this mean? Or anything else that people are going to start jumping to assumptions. It's just very concise. You can walk them through. Again, think of it as you're connecting with other people and trying to make it as simple for them as possible. And then it leads me into my next point is you want to actually acknowledge their fears or feelings that could be coming up. I think a lot of people skip this. They, of course, we're all uncomfortable with feelings a lot of time, especially at work. But if it is something very scary, very uncertain, very big changes that are happening, saying something as simple as, I know this might cause you some worry about what your job may look like or what's coming next, but it's okay. I'm here for you, whatever it is. Or just acknowledging the elephant in the room can go a long way to, again, help people connect with you. And then offering that support. I'm here for you. Let me know what questions you have now, or I'll be available in the next week. Maybe I'll hold office hours certain days, certain weeks, or certain hours. Think of it something like that. Or email me with your questions. Give them specific next steps of how they can connect with you if it's not in the moment. Because a lot of times, again, people are maybe shutting down and they might not have a question in the moment, but it'll come up an hour later or the next day after they've slept on it. So give them a clear path of how they can ask those questions of you.
Okay, so can I just recap that structure? Because I think this is really valuable for everyone watching this. So, number one, set the intention and make the intention clear, such as, okay, we need to have a conversation, or there's some changes coming. Number two, I wrote down the meat, as you said, so 2 or 3 bullet points, short, succinct, stick to the facts as if you were just a neutral observer reporting the facts. And number three, as you wrap up the conversation, acknowledge the fear and concerns, and then let them know further steps. You can email me with questions, you can reach out to me with questions, whatever might be appropriate for the situation. Do I have that right?
Yes, exactly. So it's being as clear as possible, but it's all about connecting with them and not just talking at them, but opening the opportunity for them to ask those questions and, again, not shut down completely. But some people will either way, so don't take it personally if they do.
So let's kind of stick with that for a minute. If they take it personally, you touched on setting the stage with your intention, but is there any other way to maybe lay the groundwork for a productive, and I would also maybe say safe, tell me if I'm misusing that word, conversation? Because here's what I think about, especially if you have to tell people something like you're fired. How can someone deal with that if, like, let's say the other person gets really upset or explodes in the moment? And, I've never heard of anyone getting physically violent, but it is emotional, like you said. It can be hard to hear these things at work. So what if someone explodes, or is there anything they can say in that setting the stage to maybe set the groundwork for a productive conversation?
Yeah, well, even that idea of thinking of it as a productive conversation, I think will help your mindset going into the conversation. So you're not just thinking, oh, I have to tell them this thing. And it's, again, when you're thinking about it that way, it sounds very one way. And it's very, I'm doing this to you. It can feel a bit more personal on both sides. So think about it as a productive two-way conversation. And again, that intention, that first sentence will be a great place to start and kind of level the playing field, hopefully allow them to see that you're on their side or that you're in it with them, even if you are having to let them go, but knowing that you have their best interest at heart or something like that can be really helpful. But then, yeah, if it does escalate, they're getting emotional. We've seen maybe people crying, people getting angry, yelling, and again, hopefully nothing destructive or physical. But if it is something, again, kind of in this safe space, like you mentioned, yes, that's a great way to think about it. We want it to be a safe space for them to have these emotions, because imagine this. We are human. We have emotions. We can't just always stifle them as hard as we try. I've been there. I've
Yeah.
tried my whole life. And it is actually easier if you allow them out. So in the room with someone who is getting emotional, I always say, let them get the emotions out. Again, as long as it's safe for you, for them, let them cry a bit. And it's going to feel uncomfortable for you because no one likes to be in these uncomfortable emotions, yourself or them. But maybe even count to 30 in your head to just allow them the space. It's going to be uncomfortable, but be in the silence. It's okay. Or whatever they have to let out, just sit with it.
Yeah.
Don't judge them. Don't try to say, oh my gosh, it's going to be okay, because you don't always know if it's going to be okay. We can't
Right,
jump to
right.
that, but maybe just letting them let it out, give them some time, give them a little space, and then say, how can I support you? Or where do we need to go from here? What do you need right now? Something like that, to an open-ended question when they're ready, when they've let it all out as much as they can, and put the ball back in their court to say to you what they need from you.
Yeah, I like that kind of offering a statement of support because nobody likes delivering bad news like this. Nobody does. So I think also offering that support is kind of another way of underscoring that you do care and you are being human in this moment. So thank you for
Hmm.
that. I love this. Okay, I'm going to throw one more at you.
All right.
What if they have to deliver bad news to someone who either they're friendly with or are actually friends with at work? They go out to lunch, they have a friendly relationship because this was the case with my client who found out he had to let go part of his team. He was friends with some of them. So, what's your advice when you need to deliver bad news? And it might not be we're letting you go, but even things like, we're taking you off this project because you're not pulling your weight. What do you do when you're friends with the person?
Yeah, I think you may, obviously, most of us are going to go into it having a little bit more weight on our shoulders, probably because we feel very personal. We might feel more personally invested and a bit more emotional about it. And you may want to start, obviously, again, all the other pieces of advice definitely still play in here. You need to prepare. Don't wing it just because they are your friend and you think it might be easier, or you think they'll respect you more because you're closer with them. That actually, it might actually be harder from that sense.
Yeah.
So you may want to actually address that directly in the moment and say, hey, I do need to put my manager hat on right now, or I need to put my director hat on. I love that metaphor of like, I know we're friends, but I'm taking my friend hat off right now to put on my director hat,
Yeah.
because we need to talk about something pretty serious, and kind of setting that stage so that they know that they also need to put their professional work hat on to have this conversation. Otherwise, if you're sitting down and they're like, hey, yeah, how about that game last night? How about that beer last night? It's
Right.
not going to set the appropriate stage. So again, set that intention even more directly up front, and then you may want to use another intention sentence about being on their team or looking out for them, or something really direct again and explicit, because I think a lot of times in this situation we assume that they know that I'm still your friend and I'm looking out for you, but you should say it if it makes sense for the situation, as much as you can, to help them again see that you're looking out for them, you're on the same team as them, and this is just what it is. Again, the facts of the situation. Here's what happened, and now here's what's happening because of a result of it. I'm here for you. Let me know what support you need. I'm always rooting for you. I know this sucks. We're going to get through it together. You can be a little more casual in that framework, but still focusing on the facts, your intention, and what those next steps are with support.
Brittany, this is great. Thank you for sharing all those ideas. And I hope our listeners were taking notes. And I'm sure all the advice and the scenarios here are resonating with a lot of people. So, where can people watching find you and find out where they can learn more about you and these topics that you offer?
Definitely. You can follow along on my YouTube page as well at Hello Velocity. And also check out my website. You can sign up for my newsletter, and the website's hellovelocity.co.
Thanks, Brittany. Great to talk to you today.
Thanks so much, Marianna.